So, we have Alexa Aston, Emily Royal, Mary Lancaster, and Marie Higgins with us to talk this week. Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to be here.
Sure.
Pleasure.
So, Mary, your book releases first. It's The Lost Lover, and it's book 4 in the Crimes and Passion series. It's been a while since we've had one of these.
Yeah, I think the others came out back in, I think, 2021.
I'm thinking we shouldn't count, but perhaps it would be good if you could give us an update on the series as well. So,
Okay. Well, basically, it's sort of the series is called Crime and Passion, so obviously it's sort of half mystery about a crime and half romance. And in book 1, Mysterious Lover, the detectives, if you like, are the main couple who have the romance together, and they feature in all the other books solving various mysteries that involve other couples who have their chance for romance as it goes through. So I wrote the first 3 a couple of years ago, and then I still wanted to write another one, but I got sidetracked in doing other things, and then I had to spare couple of months sometime, I don't know how, but I did, and I thought I'm going to write that, so I wrote it, and then I sent it off to Dragonblade, and I forgot about it for ages, and so did they, I think. But things were happening, and it got a bit confusing, but finally we got together, and we brought this one out. So there's a bit of a gap, but it's the same kind of thing. There's a mystery to solve, and also the main couple in it have their love story as well, and we have the detective duo helping them out, trying to find out who the real villain of the piece is. The hero is he's been in prison for stealing diamonds, and he comes out of prison when they discover that he didn't actually do it, but he's hopping mad, and he's determined to get his revenge on the guys who set him up.
Well, yeah,
and he thinks it was the wife of this chief villain guy, sort of boss in the London underworld, and so he goes checking up on the wife, and then the chief villain ends up dead in the wife's bedroom, and he discovers him, and it all sort of progresses from there, and they discover that neither of them are what they really think they are, and there's more to each of them as it goes on. And the more they learn about each other, the more they fall in love, and it goes from there.
So the crime boss's widow is our heroine?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
But she has a slightly harrowing backstory. Mm-hmm. So we also have some other secondary characters who I hope readers like, because a couple of them are going to be in a new series coming out next year, I think, is the Silver and Grey.
I'm really looking forward to that one. I saw the Publishers Marketplace announcement when I went to make it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for this one.
Well, I hope it's fun, because I'm looking forward to writing it. But 2 of the characters in this book will be the main characters in Silver and Grey.
Oh, awesome. So. Awesome. Yeah, I love it when we get to revisit characters that we've already fallen in love with. That makes the experience so much richer, I think.
Yeah, so. I hope so.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. I'm glad that Crime and Passions is back again, and I'm looking forward to this one. And how many more are there in this series?
Well, I haven't written any more yet because I got sidetracked again.
I like to cover your ears.
But you never know. There's a couple of novellas in there as well. So.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this one, and by the time this airs, they will all be available, so you can read to your heart's content. So the next release we have this week is Emily Royal's book, and it's Lion of the Ton. Can you tell us, as a Lion's Den book, can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, it's actually my 3rd entry into the Lion's Den. So I love the Lion's Den. I think it's such a great series, and it's just so fun that every author can contribute to it with their own little take and spin. And it's linked to my Misfits of the Tom series, and I'm a bit like Mary, because it's been on a bit of a hiatus because I've had all sorts of things that have got in the way, like COVID knocked me for 6, and it kind of knocked my whole writing of that series later on this year. So Lion of the Ton, the heroine is Lady Betty Grey, she's a secondary character in the Misfits of the Ton series, and she's one of these people. She's in her mid-50s, so it's an older couple is the hero and heroine, and she's a widow. She adored her late husband, but he passed away 10 years ago, and he was much older than her, and he basically said on his deathbed, Betty, love, enjoy life, go and do what you want, live life to the full, live each day like it's the last. So she has wild parties. She's got all sorts of contacts. So if you want a necklace forged, she knows the forger. Lots of people owe her favors, and she has countless lovers, and she just absolutely adores life, and she has lots and lots of fun. But she's got a really tragic past. So she had her heart smashed to bits 30 years ago by this dastardly duke. Well, he was the heir to the dukedom at the time. She got her revenge on him, and the two of them haven't met for 30 years. And then before the Lion's Den book begins, he basically reveals one of her really bad secrets at a house party. They meet for the first
time.
On! Oh, and he's an absolute,
we redeem ourselves.
Moral fiber of a slug is what one of my reviewers has said. So he's like been harboring this bitterness because he blew for the way she treated him 30 years ago, even though he broke her heart. So he reveals this secret, and she realizes that her whole position in society could completely unravel. So she hightails it back to London and thinks, I've got days secret breaks and my reputation is ruined. And she thinks the only way she can salvage her reputation is to find herself a titled husband. And where else is she going to go to get a titled husband within a matter of days but the Lion's Den? So she goes to the Lion's Den. She has to be an old friend of Bessie Dove-Lyons. Bessie Dove-Lyons says, yep, I'll find you a husband. And what's stipulated in the contract, just to make sure that Betty's position is secure, is that she meets the husband at the altar for the first time. So it's all done sight unseen. And the marriage is consummated within an hour of the ceremony. So Betty walks down the aisle, and lo and behold, when the groom turns around, it's the same man who broke her heart 30 years ago.
Oh, this is the best kind of second chance romance ever.
So yeah, these two they kind of get married, and then they have to navigate their differences. And he's a widower, so he was in a marriage of convenience, and basically he and his late wife hated each other, and his twin sons resent him because his estate is in tatters. He's got no money, he can't afford to send them to university. So Betty kind of inherits this blended family that's very dysfunctional. And then she's got all of her, the secret that Harcourt, I was going to say villain, Harcourt, the hero or the anti-hero, revealed is just the tip of the iceberg. She's got a whole load of other horrific secrets, and they all start coming out. And it's basically how Betty and Harcourt navigate these secrets and how she comes to trust him again or not.
And we get them to fall in love after the wedding.
Sorry?
We get them to fall in love after the wedding.
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely there's a lot of lust there, a lot of sexual tension. But yeah, the real kind of falling in love and trust happens after the wedding. They kind of stuck with each other.
Yeah, I love that when they're trapped and there's no choice but to figure out where to go from here. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. I'm really looking forward to that one. So I actually came across Tom Boy of the Ton today because I was putting together the readers poll. We have more of that series coming up.
Yes, there's only 2 of them are out. So the third is is being edited, and I'm currently writing the 4th now. I'm kind of back on track. From Lion of the Ton, she features quite prominently in the third because she helps the heroine find various forged items with all her dodgy contacts in London. So she plays a fairly key role in that book. So I loved giving Betty her own story as well.
Great. Well, and the next book that we have releasing this week is Alexa Aston's Training the Duke. And it's book 7 in the Suddenly a Duke series. And there's a dog on the cover of this one.
Yes, I'm already looking at the Duke readers. Do what?
I keep thinking of looking at the Duke and going, leave it.
Yeah, readers are already responding just to the cover. I think there's a lot of dog lovers out there. Finola had a lot of bad things happen to her, and as all the women in this series, she is earning her own living, and she is one of the premier dog trainers in England. She specializes in English Springer Spaniels, and her last name is Honeyfield, and they get the last name of Honeyfield Springer Spaniels. And so everybody wants Lady Finola to train their dog. And so she's, popping along normally, but she's very lonely. I mean, the dogs are her family. That's really all who she has. And she winds up, through the pups that she's training, meeting her next door neighbor. And this is Lieutenant General Cyrus Cressley, who has been injured in the war. He's come home, kind of estranged from his brother, who is the Duke, and he has been granted permission to live in the hunting lodge, which abuts to the place of her estate. And they meet. He's brought one of his Batman's boys home with him. A Batman was like a valet for officers in the war. And so he has little Birdie with him. And of course, a boy and dogs, they're drawn together, which draws the couple together, and they become friends, but both of them are harboring secrets. And of course, since the series is called Suddenly a Duke, guess what? Cy gets to be a Duke suddenly, and that's not going to sit well with Finola. So that's going to cause problems between them. But dogs and love will conquer all.
Well, I can see why readers are reacting to the cover, because the spaniel on the cover is really handsome, and I love the idea of this whole series where the women have agency and have their own careers and passions and things that is part of what brings them to the hero.
Yeah, some of them actually are from the nobility, and they're on hard luck. Things have happened to them, and some are not from that world. But these guys, they're suddenly dukes. They weren't trained to be dukes, and they can't help whom they're attracted to. And so they're bringing these unsuitable women into the ton. But like I said, love conquers all. So, but this is the next to last one. Next month will be the end of the series. So.
Oh my goodness! I feel like we've been having sudden dukes for ages now. What comes next for you?
The last one is going to feature a heroine who has been in 3 or 4 of these books. She's a Bow Street runner, and constantly I keep getting instant messages and direct messages and emails and text and everything. And when is Shelby going to have her story? When is Shelby going to have her story? Well, we're going to wrap the series with Shelby. So, but she's been instrumental in helping some of these dukes and their wives, or soon to be wives, solve some little mystery or problem that's been going on. And so it was about time to give her her own story. And she, at that time, I have said she is the only female Bow Street runner. So that's kind of her claim to fame, that she's better than any of the other men and can solve a case twice as fast. So,
very cool. Very cool. That's something to look forward to. Awesome. So the last book that we had releasing this week is Her Perfect Scoundrel by Marie Higgins, and it is the first book in the Worthington Legacy series. Can you tell us about the book in the series, Marie?
Sure. So the first book starts out. First off, let me tell you, the Worthington Legacy has 12 books in the series.
Oh my goodness!
I know, I'm so excited, and I've got the first 5 done. Anyway, so that's good. But they're all related. All the Worthington men, are related in some way, cousins especially. So the first 2 books are about the 2 brothers. And Adrian, he is Adrian Worthington. He is the second son of a nobleman, and his older brother is an earl. So as a second son, he's carefree and doesn't want to, take on responsibility and things like that. And him and his brother, they argue a lot. They butt heads a lot. So their knowledgeable father decides to buy them in a big estate. They are to live together until they can get along. But the father's also, their purpose is, I want you guys to find a woman, come on. So Adrian, who doesn't really want a party, have a welcoming party to the new neighborhood kind of thing, he decides that he is not going to tell everybody who he is. He's not going to tell. He's going to pretend he's the, country bumpkin cousin of the Earl. And because nobody really knows who they are, And so that way he can help his brother find a wife. And so when he first meets Bridget Hartwell, she is trying to get her two younger sisters off the property of the new, men in the neighborhood. And so that's how they first meet. And of course, Adrian presents himself as, yeah, I'm just the gardener kind of thing, or I'm just the, and then eventually he's like, yeah, well, we're related, I'm the country bumpkin kind of thing. But so Bridget, poor Bridget, she is oldest in a family of, I want to say it was 4 girls. There's 5 girls. I think it's 5 girls. And her, her mother's dead, and so their father's struggling, and she knows it's up to her to find a wealthy husband, the same old thing. But and so when their family goes to this party, and she meets the Earl, she's thinking, oh, you're nice, and he kind of takes a special interest in her. But at the same time, Adrian keeps bugging her. Because he knows that Bridget is one of those farthing-filtered women, and you're only after my brother's title, and so he kind of wants to stop it. So that's how they get to know each other. But then they become friends, and then he tries to help her, or no, she tries to help him. There's a little mystery going around. Somebody wants to keep the Earl out of the neighborhood. They want to get out. And so she is trying to help. And of course, Adrian uses this excuse to be with her because she loves to read a mystery. She likes to solve the before she reads it. And so he uses that excuse to, come help me, come help us, kind of thing. And so, so that's so here she is. Her father's bugging her to, nope, you've got to marry the Earl. You got to marry. But at the same time, she's like, well, he's nice, but kind of like Adrian.
But the gardener / cousin /
yeah. Well, within a little bit, I want to say like 3 chapters or so, she finds out who he is. And so, yeah, but that there's still, like it says, there's a mystery, and she still thinks that, the Earl has, an interest in her, and there might be a chance, but at the same time, she doesn't want to fall for Adrian, but she can't help it. But during the mystery and everything, but yeah, it's kind of it's got some humor in it, and a little bit. I kind of call it a cozy mystery because out of all the stories I write, this is the smaller of the mysteries that I have. So, but yeah, and then of course, book number 2 is about the Earl, and the brother. So,
and 12 books, we get to stay there for a long time.
I know, I'm so excited. I just love the covers too.
Oh, good. Well, there's lots of things to read this week, and there's clearly something for everybody. So I'll make sure I put the links in the comments so you can grab them if you haven't gotten them already. I thought if it was okay with you all, Emily, you were talking about a second chance. It was a second chance romance and a marriage of convenience and almost a forced proximity kind of thing too, all at the same time. So I was thinking maybe we could talk about tropes, your favorite ones to read and your favorite ones to write, whichever direction you want to go, just to see like what is it that really calls to you. What are the tropes that make your heart excited?
I love enemies to lovers, which actually there's a lot of enemies to lovers in Lion of Baton as well. I just think when you have a kind of hate each other at the beginning, and then you get sparks fly and a lot of passion sort of going back and forth, and particularly if they hate each other due to not really understanding each other's background, and as kind of secrets get revealed and they finally understand more of each other, then the love comes. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
I also like reading enemies to lovers. That's one of my favorite, and yet I don't write it because I think other people do it so well. It's almost the same. I love marriage of convenience. That's a great trope, but I usually don't write those either. A lot of what I have written has been those fish out of water, where people just are put in different circumstances than they were raised to be. And I just like to see how people adapt and change and sort of make that world their own. And especially a couple of my series have been all about Dukes. And so Dukes write their own rules anyway. So that's been kind of fun to watch those guys step into the tom and see how they handle things.
And that the whole series, your whole Suddenly the Duke series, is all that fish out of water.
That's what that is. My Soldiers and Soulmates, those were all 5 soldiers who were second sons, and through various circumstances, they all came back and inherited titles. My Duke's Done Wrong series, same thing. They were all boys that were sent away for a crime that they didn't commit and disowned by their families, and they became families of their own. They kind of made their own family, and then one by one they all came into various titles. So I said it's a theme that, and a lot of my writing also, my characters in the series, even if they're not related by blood, they become family. It's that friends that become your own family, that chosen family. So that's kind of a theme that I do too.
Yeah, I love that chosen family, that like that creative family where you take a group of people and make a family with them. I love that idea. Mary, what about you?
I'm sure we talked about this before, and I don't think I actually have a favorite trope as such. I like variety, so I like when it comes from all angles. Everyone that everybody else has mentioned, I think these can all be wonderful, and I've probably had a go at each of them in some way or another. Possibly not as well as you guys, but I have a shot. But I like to keep moving on. I think I start with the characters rather than the trope that I'm going for.
Yeah,
I think it just depends which way the characters go and how their story comes into my head, rather than which one I actually go for.
So do you get the characters fully formed before you start, before you know what they're going to do, before you know what the book is going to be?
Not necessarily. I have a starting point. There's something about them that gets to me, that makes them different and makes me want to write about them. And then gradually, as I go on, become more fuller characters, and then the story becomes more real, and I can gallop through it at that point. But up until then, it can be a bit slow going to start with until the character comes fully onto me, and then I can go a bit faster with luck.
I think it feels like squinting.
Yeah,
you know where you're going, but you can't. I didn't bring my glasses.
Yeah, through a glass darkly. Yeah.
Marie, what about you? Do you have a favorite to write or to read?
I think my favorite to write has been the Enemies to Lovers, only because I like the headbutt, and I like the verbal swordplay. I like the, and my characters seem to make it humorous, so it's not a vindictive that's like, we're out for revenge, kind of. No, they make it humorous, and of course, playing tricks on each other or getting back at each other or, doing whatever throughout most of the story is what really brings them together. So, but my characters love Enemies to Lovers. But what's funny is I've only written a handful. But I also love Second Chance, but it's so funny because in my mind, Second Chance is more of the, rebirth kind of thing, and almost, falling in love over again kind of thing, and it's just not as humorous to me as Enemies to Lovers. So, but yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Awesome. I think there's an advantage to Second Chance, particularly when you're talking about writing for Lion's Den or any of the novellas, because you already have some kind of established relationship between the couples, which happens, I guess, with Enemies to Lovers too. There has to be some kind of history for them to butt heads that strongly.
Opposites Attract is another one.
Yeah,
that I like, when you get either completely different characters or a couple that just would not on paper but do, or like a massive disparity in class or something. I like that, which is a bit kind of fish out of water as well, isn't it? Yeah.
It's I think it's really fun when you get one character very strongly too, like if you're writing in a series and you have a bunch of brothers, or you have a family, and then you know who this person is because you've been with them in the family the whole entire time, and then you're in the back of your head, you're trying to figure out, like, who does this person need to be with? Who's the person that's going to make them be who they're supposed to be in the world, the perfect foil for them. And I always think that's really fun to see who they end up with. So.
I sometimes find actually when I'm developing a series, I'll have secondary characters in mind, and they won't do what I expect them to do in the book with their secondary characters. So when it comes to their book, I have to match them with somebody else because their character is completely different to how I'd planned it. It just happens that way. It's really weird.
I have naughty characters like that as well. I have this Duke of Distinction series, and I knew exactly who the characters were going to be. And that last Duke that was going to wrap up the series, it was going to be the sister of Duke number 4, Duke of Arrogance, and she was going to marry the Duke of Honor. And I get ready to write, and all of a sudden this chick named Hadley starts banging in my head, and she's like, "Sebastian is for me. Move out of the way, Elizabeth." And Elizabeth, being the kind soul she is, just sort of trotted to the side. Hadley took over the book, and it was one of my favorite in the series to write. And poor Elizabeth just hung out there flapping in the wind for about 2 years until Dragonblade gave me an opportunity to be in a summer anthology.
Oh, that's right.
It was Get Your Duke On. Was that the name of it? Yeah, and we had to pick a summer song. Well, I have always loved the musical Grease. Mm-hmm. And so I picked You're the One That I Want, and my book was The Duke That I Want. And Elizabeth, by golly, she got a Duke.
Oh, good.
So I just felt so glad that I finally got her taken care of, because this other character just came in my head and totally took everything off course.
Yeah, and you can't fight that, because it's like the writing completely stops when you're going in the wrong direction. It's like it just everything stops, and it's like,
yeah. Well, it was almost like Sebastian was too nice and Elizabeth was too nice, and it would have been too bland a book to end the series and all. So, yeah. And Hadley, she fell in love with Sebastian through letters because she is a ward of Sebastian's dad. And so he's a little estranged from his dad because the dad didn't want first son Duke to inherit, to go off to war. And he writes these letters. And so she forces the Duke to listen to them, and she reads them. And so she falls in love with him before he ever comes back. And so then he comes back, and boy, yeah, he's the new Duke and have her to deal with. So anyway, so it made for a much better story. They were a better couple. Sometimes you just have to listen to those voices in your head.
You know what's funny about that is when I try to tell my coworkers or family members who aren't writers that, like the voices are in my head. I've got characters telling me how to write their story. I don't write their story; they write their story, and my coworkers think ready to put a straitjacket on me or something. Because they're like, and I go, you just have to be a writer.
It takes another writer. I know. I go down I-35. I want them to go down the interstate and maybe, exit at a convenience and then come back and all. And they want to get off and meander on those farm to market roads. And eventually, I get them back and we wind up at the goal at the end of the highway and all. But they definitely take the road less traveled.
Or the second character comes in and says, no, I want him. So, yeah, that happened. What's funny is I love that because then I'm all excited. Whoa, this is going different than what I planned. And that gets me all excited. And I'm a little weird that way. But I understand.
No, I think that excitement, that staying engaged in the story when you have all of your evil genius plans of how everything's going to work out, and then all of a sudden it's different than you thought, and sometimes it's like better than what you pictured, and those are the best moments, That's more than you thought. Oh, awesome. Well, ladies, it was a treat to talk to you today. I will make sure that I pop the books in the comments so that you can get them if you haven't gotten them already. The normal pitch is that Dragonblade books are the best deal pre-order and release, because they are the best deal pre-order and release. And if you don't get them, then you can always read in Kindle Unlimited. Before we go, we've got 2 anthologies coming up. Well, we have an anthology and a cookbook, and I meant to ask you all ahead of time, is anybody participating in the Halloween anthology?
Oh, not me.
Are you, are you Mary? So that's coming up at the end of the month, and we'll be doing a big to do about that. So it's a chance to get all your spooky stories in one time, and then we also have a cookbook.
I'm in that one. I got
In
two.
your cookbook?
I'm
Yeah.
excited about that one.
You too? What are your recipes?
Huh?
What's your recipe?
I can't remember.
Yours is mine.
I had Ebel Skeever and Fadiman buckles. So yeah,
And what?
I know, right? I don't know how to say it either. But that one, I think one came from Germany and the other one Danish, something, whatever. But yeah, they're both like, one is part of my husband's side of family and one's my side of family. So
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Fun. Emily, you doing that too?
Yeah, cheese straws, and I've got no idea where they came from. They're written down in my mum's handwriting, whether it came from my mum or her side of the family or whatever. But I always remember watching the TV show The Duchess of Duke Street with Gemma Jones, which was based on a woman who actually ran a famous London hotel, and she was actually chef at White's as well. And it was one of the first things that she made to impress the lord that she cooked for was cheese straws. So I thought it's got to be cheese straws.
Oh, love cheese straws. Cheese straws. Well, so that's something to look forward to too. And Mary, your story for the Halloween collection is what?
It is. I've forgotten.
It's not fair. I didn't give you all a heads up about this. I meant to.
I was going to say Ghostly Lover, but that was last year's. What did you do? Oh yes, I remember now. It's called Haunted, and it's a continuation of the Duel series. It's one of the secondary characters.
Oh, interesting.
So it's about a couple of years after Waterloo now, and he's been traveling and he's on his way home, and he encounters this haunted house, and the lady who lives there with her very small son who sees ghosts, and they're all a bit strange, but then so is George, so they all get on fine in the end.
Well, that sounds like a good spooky kind of time. So
Well, I hope so. It was fun for me anyway.
good. Well, ladies, thanks again for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. There's lots of stuff to look forward to. We have lots more books coming in the series, and also the anthology and the cookbook as well. So we'll see you back here the same time next week. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye.